I saw him first. The words left my mouth before thought could catch them. A snarl born from 8 years of taking what I wanted and killing what I couldn't have. Lightning split the sky behind me, turning the forest white, and in that flash I saw my wolves freeze mid-step, their eyes shifting from the stranger to me, calculating whether this was the moment to challenge. None of them moved. They had seen what I did to the last woman who tried to take something I had claimed. He stood in the doorway of the old trapper's cabin, rain dripping from hair black as pine tar, and he did not run. That was the first thing that unsettled me. Men run from us. Men beg. Men soil themselves and weep for mothers long dead, for wives they will never see again, for gods who have clearly abandoned them to the wolves. This one simply watched me cross the clearing, mud sucking at my boots with every step, and when I stopped close enough to smell the storm on his skin, ozone and sweat and something underneath, something like old grief. He spoke. "The roof leaks in the northeast corner. I was about to fix it when you arrived." Kira laughed behind me, that sharp bark she uses before violence. I raised my hand without turning, fingers spread wide, and she went silent. The stranger noticed. His gaze flicked to my hand, then back to my face, and something moved behind his eyes. Recognition. Assessment. The look of a man measuring a weapon, calculating its reach and weight. "You are on our land," I said. "In our shelter. Everything here belongs to the pack." "Including me?" The question held no fear. That was the second thing that unsettled me. I had grown accustomed to fear. I had learned to taste it in the air, metallic and sharp, and this man gave me nothing. His heartbeat was steady. I could see it in the vein at his throat, slow and calm as a sleeping dog. I stepped closer, letting him see the scar that runs from my left ear to the hollow of my throat, the ridge of tissue where the rope had bitten deep before the branch snapped. Most men flinch from it. They see the mark and imagine the violence that made it, and something in them recoils. This one studied it the way a cartographer studies terrain, tracing the raised flesh with his eyes, mapping the story written in my skin. When he met my gaze again, there was something like respect in his expression, or perhaps hunger. I have learned they can wear the same face. "Yes," I said, "including you. Mine." He smiled then, a slow thing that did not reach his eyes, and he stepped aside to let me enter the cabin. "Then I suppose I should learn your name, since I belong to you now." "Dagny." "Thyron," he said, and the name meant nothing to me. Not then. It was just a sound, 2 syllables that would come to mean everything. But in that moment, it was only a stranger's name spoken in a stranger's voice. The cabin was cramped with all 9 of us inside, bodies pressed close, the smell of wet leather and wood smoke filling the small space. My wolves claimed their corners, shaking water from their hair, passing dried meat between them. Thyron moved to the fire he had built before we arrived, feeding it branches with the ease of a man who has lived rough for years. His hands were scarred, I noticed. Old scars, layered over each other like the rings of a tree, telling stories in white tissue and raised lines. Working hands. Fighting hands. Hands that had known both labor and violence. "What are you doing in our forest?" Kira demanded. She had positioned herself between Thyron and the door, her hand resting on the knife at her hip. She had never learned to temper her tongue, which was why she was my second. I needed someone who would say what the others only thought. Thyron did not look up from the fire. Surviving. Surviving what? Now he looked up and his eyes found mine instead of hers, passing over Kira as if she were furniture. Does it matter? I am yours now. My past belongs to whoever I was before this cabin. It was a pretty answer. Too pretty. The kind of answer a man crafts when he has something to hide. But the storm was howling outside, rain lashing the walls, and my wolves were tired. And I told myself I would pry the truth from him later. I had time. He was mine, after all. He was not going anywhere. That first night, I made him sleep at the foot of my bedroll like a dog. A test, a reminder of what he was now. Property, not person. Something owned rather than someone respected. He accepted it without complaint, curling onto the bare floor with his back to the fire, and I lay awake listening to the rhythm of his breathing. It was too steady, too controlled. Men we capture do not sleep their first night. They whimper and pray and plot escapes that never come, their breath catching on sobs they try to muffle. Thyron breathed like a man who had found exactly where he wanted to be. I should have slit his throat right then. The thought crossed my mind, clear and cold as snowmelt. One cut, quick and clean, and whatever secrets he carried would die with him. Instead, I closed my eyes and let the storm sing me to sleep, and I dreamed of nothing at all. The days that followed were strange ones, marked by attention I could not name. Thyron made himself useful in ways that surprised me. He knew how to dress a deer faster than any of my wolves, his knife moving with an efficiency that spoke of years of practice. He could track a rabbit through underbrush by the faint impression of its passing, reading signs in bent grass and disturbed leaves that even Kira missed. When Miri cut her hand on a skinning knife, blood welling up fast and red, he cleaned the wound with herbs I did not recognize and bound it with strips torn from his own shirt, his fingers gentle despite their calluses. "Where did you learn healing?" I asked him, watching his hands work. There was something almost tender in the way he wrapped the bandage, something that did not fit with the hard lines of his face. "My mother." He did not look up. She knew every plant in the forest, said the green things would save us when blades could not. And did they? Save her. His hands stilled for just a moment, a breath. Then he continued wrapping Miri's palm, tucking the end of the bandage with precise care. No. I should have pressed. I did not. There was something in his voice that I recognized, a frequency of grief I had heard in my own throat during the years after the hanging, and I found I did not want to make him speak it aloud. Foolish. Weakness. But I let the silence stand, and something in his shoulders eased, as if he had expected me to dig, and was grateful that I had not. Weeks passed, marked by the slow turning of the moon. The summer heat settled over the forest like a fever, thick and wet, the air so humid that breathing felt like drowning. Theron moved through it like he had been born to our life. He hunted with us, silent and sure-footed. He ate with us, never asking for more than his share. At night, he no longer slept at my feet, but beside me, close enough that I could feel the warmth radiating from his skin. I had not invited him closer. He had simply migrated, inch by inch, night by night, and I had not stopped him. I told myself it was because the nights were warm and another body made no difference. I knew it was a lie. One night, after the others had fallen asleep, their breathing gone slow and deep, he spoke into the darkness. "Why do you call yourselves wolves?" I turned my head to look at him. His profile was sharp in the dying firelight, all angles and shadows. "Because that is what we are. The world threw us away, so we became something it could not throw. Something with teeth. And before? What were you before you had teeth?" No one had asked me that in years. My wolves knew better. They had their own befores, their own buried lives, and we had learned not to dig in each other's graves. But Theron was not one of my wolves. Not really. And perhaps that was why I answered. I was a lord's daughter, third born, worth nothing but marriage. When I refused the man my father chose, he let that man take me anyway. I touched the scar on my throat without meaning to, feeling the familiar ridge of tissue beneath my fingers. He tried to hang me from the wedding tree when I bit off his finger. The branch broke. I did not. Thyron was silent for a long moment. I could feel him thinking, feel the weight of his attention like a hand on my skin. Then, "And the pack?" Women like me. Women who should have died but did not. We found each other in the spaces between villages, in the shadows where unwanted things gather, and we decided that if the world wanted us to be monsters, we would be the kind of monsters that bite back. I paused, weighing my next words. We have done things. Dark things. I do not pretend we are innocent. What kind of things? The question was soft, almost gentle, but something in it made my spine stiffen. I turned to look at him fully, and in the dim light his eyes were fixed on my face with an intensity that felt like being skinned, like being opened up and read. Why do you want to know? Because I belong to you, he said, and I want to understand what I belong to. It was reasonable. It was also a lie. I knew it was a lie even then, felt it in the hollow of my chest like a splinter working its way toward my heart. But I had grown careless with him, comfortable. And the night was dark and I was tired of carrying this alone. So I told him. 8 years ago, we raided a homestead at the edge of the Western Valley. We needed supplies. Winter was coming, and we were starving, our ribs showing through our skin, and the family there had more than they needed. I heard my own voice go flat, the way it always did when I spoke of that night. It was supposed to be simple. Take what we needed. Leave. But it wasn't simple. No. I closed my eyes, and I was back there, in the cold, in the dark, the smell of blood sharp in my nose. The man fought. He was brave. I remember thinking that, even then. One of my wolves panicked. There was blood and screaming, and by the time I pulled them off, the man was dead. His wife was dead. Their children. I swallowed against the tightness in my throat. We found 2 children hiding in the root cellar. A girl, maybe 10, with her father's jaw and her mother's eyes. A boy younger than that, small enough that he fit in the space behind the pickle jars. Kira wanted to kill them. Witnesses, she said. I told her no. I told her we were wolves, not butchers. We took what we needed and we left them there, alive, with their parents' bodies and a winter coming that would probably kill them anyway. I opened my eyes. Thyron had not moved. Had not breathed, it seemed. His face was stone, unreadable, but something in his stillness felt like a held scream. I think about them sometimes, I said. The children. I wonder if they survived. I wonder if they hate me. I laughed, and it came out broken, more sob than sound. Of course they hate me. If they lived, they must hate me with everything they are. Thyron said nothing. His silence filled the cabin like smoke, thick and suffocating, and when I finally turned away from him, I told myself the wetness on my face was sweat from the summer heat. I told myself a lot of lies that night. After that, something shifted between us. He watched me differently, not with less intensity, but with a different quality to it, as if seeing me for the first time. And I watched him too. This strange man who had let himself be claimed, who moved through my world like he had always belonged there, who listened to my worst confession without flinching or fleeing. I did not trust him. I knew somewhere beneath my ribs that he was keeping something from me. But I also knew that I was starting to want him in ways that had nothing to do with possession. When he looked at me, I felt seen. Not as a monster, not as a leader, but as a woman with scars and sins, and something still soft beneath all the hardness. When he spoke to me, I felt heard. When he touched me, casually, accidentally, his hand brushing mine as we worked side by side, I felt something I had thought dead flicker back to life. It was Miri who found the knife. She came to me one morning, her face pale as birch bark, and pressed a blade into my hands. It was old, the handle worn smooth from years of use, and carved into the pommel was a symbol I recognized. A homesteader's mark, the brand a family burned into their tools so thieves would know who they had stolen from. I found it in his things, Miri whispered, hidden in his bedroll. Dagny, look at the mark. I looked, and the ground beneath me turned to water. I knew that mark. I had seen it 8 years ago, on the door of a cabin we burned, on the tools we took, on the chest where a man had hidden his children before coming out to die with an axe in his hands. Get out, I said to Miri. My voice did not sound like my own. It was hollow, distant, as if coming from somewhere far away. Get everyone out. Take them hunting. Do not come back until dark. Dagny, he is dangerous. We should kill him now. Go. She went, and I sat with that knife in my hands, feeling the weight of 8 years of borrowed time, running my thumb over the mark, and I waited for the man I had claimed to come back from the stream where he was washing. He knew something was wrong the moment he saw me. His body shifted, weight settling into his heels, hands loose at his sides. Ready. He had always been ready, I realized. Every moment since that first night, he had been coiled like a snake waiting to strike. Where did you find that? He asked. His voice was calm, conversational, the voice of a man who had rehearsed this moment 1,000 times in the dark. Miri found it in your things. I turned the knife over, let the sunlight catch the homesteader's mark. I know this brand, Thyron. I know whose family carried it. He was silent. The forest held its breath. You're the boy, I said. The one we left in the cellar. The one I thought the winter would kill. The winter almost did kill me. He stepped closer, and I let him, because I found I did not care anymore whether he killed me. Perhaps I had been waiting for this too. My sister died first. Fever took her 3 days after you left. I buried her with my own hands, in frozen ground so hard it took me 2 days to dig deep enough, and I promised her I would make you pay. All of you. Every wolf who touched our home. So this whole time you were waiting, learning, finding the right moment to cut the head off the snake. He smiled, and it was the saddest smile I had ever seen. I was going to kill you in your sleep. That first night. Quick and clean. Then on to the others, one by one. But you made me sleep at your feet, and I lay there listening to you breathe, and I could not do it. Why not? Because you breathed like someone having nightmares. Because you whimpered in your sleep and said, I'm sorry, to no one. Because when I finally did sleep, I dreamed of my mother, and she asked me what I was becoming, and I did not have an answer. He was close now, close enough to kill, close enough to kiss. I could not tell which he intended. I have spent 8 years becoming a weapon, he said. I sharpened myself against my own hatred until there was nothing left of me but edge and point. And then you told me about that night, and I heard something I did not expect. What? Regret. His voice cracked on the word, splintered like wood under pressure. You regret it. You carry those children with you. You did not forget us. I could never forget you. The words came out before I could stop them. I see your sister's face every time I close my eyes. I see your parents every time I eat food I did not grow. I built this pack to protect women like me, but I became the same monster I was running from, and I have never found a way to live with that. He reached out and touched my face. His hand was trembling, and I realized that mine was too. I was supposed to hate you, he whispered. I do hate you, but I also... He stopped, breathed. I do not know what I feel anymore. I do not know who I am if I am not your enemy. Then be something else. I pressed his knife back into his hands, closed his fingers around the handle. The blade was cold between us. Kill me if that is what you need. I will not stop you. I have owed you this death for 8 years. But if you do not want to kill me, if there is any part of you that wants something other than revenge, then stay. Stay and let us figure out what we are together. He stood there with the blade in his hand and his eyes on my face. and I watched him wage a war I could not see. His jaw worked. His breath came short and sharp. Seconds passed. A minute. The forest was silent around us. No birdsong, no wind, as if the world itself were holding its breath. Then he opened his fingers and let the knife fall. It landed point down in the dirt between us, quivering like a living thing, and he sank to his knees like a man whose strings had been cut. I knelt with him. I did not touch him. I did not dare, not yet. I simply knelt in the dirt of my camp, beside the man who had come to destroy me, and I let him shake apart. "I don't know how to stop hating," he said into his hands, his voice muffled and broken. "I've been hating for so long. It's the only thing that kept me alive. I know." And I did. I knew it in my bones, in the scar on my throat, in every night I had spent dreaming of the men who hurt me and waking with my teeth bared. It does not stop all at once. It stops in pieces, and some pieces never stop at all. But you can build something around it. You can make it smaller than you are. He looked up at me, and his face was wrecked, all the careful control stripped away. And I saw the boy he had been, the boy who had hidden behind pickle jars while his parents died. My sister's name was Elke. She was afraid of storms. The night you came, she hid under the bed because of the thunder, and that is the only reason she made it to the cellar. She was 7 years old, and she trusted me to protect her, and I couldn't. I held her while she died, and I couldn't do anything. "I'm sorry." The words were nothing. The words were everything. "I'm sorry, Thyrin. I'm sorry for Elka. I'm sorry for your parents. I'm sorry I cannot give them back to you." "I know." He breathed out, long and shuddering, and something in his face shifted. Not forgiveness, not yet, maybe not ever, but something like acceptance. "I know you are." We knelt there until the sun moved across the sky, until the shadows grew long, until my wolves came back from their hunt and found us still kneeling in the dirt with a knife between us. They did not understand. I saw it in their faces. I did not try to explain. I simply stood, joints aching, and offered Thyrin my hand. After a long moment, he took it. He stayed. Not easily. Not without cost. There were nights he woke screaming, and I did not know if he would reach for me or for my throat. There were days my wolves looked at him with murder in their eyes, and I had to bare my teeth to keep them back. There were moments I caught him staring at Kira with an expression that made my blood run cold, because Kira had been there that night. Kira had wanted to kill the children, and some hatreds do not die just because you will them to. But there were other nights too. Nights he reached for me in the darkness, and I let him. Nights we lay tangled together, his heart beat against my spine, and I felt something I had forgotten the shape of. Peace. Fragile, imperfect, built on bones and ashes, but peace nonetheless. I do not know what we are to each other. Lovers, perhaps. Survivors, certainly. Two people who should have been enemies, who chose to be something else instead. He has not forgiven me. I have not forgiven myself. But we are trying. We are building something new in the space where revenge used to live. And some days that feels like enough. The knife still sits in my tent, blade down in a cup of sand. He put it there himself. A reminder of who he was, of who he chose not to be. I look at it sometimes when he is out hunting with the others, and I think about the girl who died in a cellar and the boy who buried her with his own hands. I think about the monster I became and the wolves who followed me. I think about all the blood between us, his family's and mine, and I wonder if there is any amount of love that can wash it clean. Maybe not. Maybe some stains are forever. But he is beside me now, his breath warm on my neck, and when I close my eyes, I do not dream of the homestead. I dream of a future I never thought I would have. It is small and uncertain and full of sharp edges, but it is ours. I saw him first. I claimed him as mine, but somewhere in the claiming, he claimed me too.